Can we run a quick advertise, maybe a sponsored aside here for the Karaji complaint of the day? I'm Mike Karaji, by the way. This is Juan
We need a
Rivera. If
sponsor
you've
for
lasted
this.
this long, yeah, this isn't. We don't need a sponsor for naming us. We need a sponsor for my quick aside of the week here. Um, the Beth Phoenix. Now that you mentioned 2003 to 2015 or whatever, awful women's wrestling a
Yep,
decade that was. She's a Hall of Famer. I respect
correct.
what I respect what she's done. She's been a great worker when she's come back into the company and really kind of put it all out there for the company when she returned as Edge returned. Um, and I gotta tell you, she has to be the most overrated Hall of Famer or unqualified Hall of Famer in WWE history. She has no business sniffing the Hall of Fame. And I say that as someone who recognizes that the Hall of Fame is essentially a bunch of bullshit, anyways. Uh, and now this is when we slide the sponsor image back this way.
Hey,
And anyone who
that's a
wants to
hot
sponsor
take.
us, shoot a comment below if you're looking to sponsor.
Maybe this can get
Maybe it's the
into
Rodenheiser hot take of the.
yeah. Maybe we can go through the Hall of Fame list one day and just quickly say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes,
Yeah,
no.
I
So
smell clicks.
they build the ladies championship as the co-main event. So,
Mm-hmm.
they clearly put some stock behind it. And Cyndi Lauper, again, as previously mentioned, was fantastic on the mic. As, like you said, she could probably have been a legit manager for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Great
Yeah,
personality.
she was wild. I thought she was great. I think it's great how they did the Rock and Wrestling Connection back then, which I've seen a lot about. And I think that they just either picked the right person, she picked them. It just all came together well. And again,
Yeah.
it's you got to be bold, you got to be smart, you got to be good, but you got to be lucky. And Vince was all of those things in 1985.
I'm going to safely assume that she was previously a wrestling fan too, because she was like almost like
Yeah.
way too good on the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Like she knew what
Yeah.
she was doing. Now we go into the actual main event, and that's the Hogan Mr. T defeating Paul Orndorff and Roddy Piper. Um, I
This is where we just talk about Roddy Piper is
I love
really an all
Roddy.
time, and everyone knows it
He
all the time. So if you watch a couple of our videos, if anyone is watching our first video 20 minutes in, God bless you, and it means maybe you'll watch another video of ours. And we'll drop in some nuggets here and there from me and Juan's personal kind of weird venture through the wrestling circle in our lives.
That's true.
And Roddy Piper, an all-time GOAT regardless, and this is my very small brush with greatness of Roddy Piper in WrestleMania in Miami. I forget what number it was. I'm sure you
Yep.
remember with The Rock and Cena wrestled.
Yeah, 28, I think it was.
I weaseled my way into the after party, the WrestleMania after party. I was probably the only random fan there, and Roddy Piper and CM Punk were sitting down at the table next to me, just shooting the shit for 10, 15 minutes. I always remember CM Punk saying that Roddy Piper was his favorite. It's who he modeled himself after, and you can see a lot of Punk in Piper, or what Punk took from Piper, even in Piper's entrance to the ring, the smug look, everything he did walking into the ring, you could see it. And I remember seeing that moment at that after party and thinking, man, that is a little bit of history that no one's ever really going to see. I always was kind of honored to just catch that little glimpse. And Piper, man, never gets his due, and you're talking throughout the ages. Never gets his due. Obviously, everyone agrees he's a Hall of Famer. He's a great, but he's an all-time real elite great.
No,
Who never held a championship? Who never held a major championship in the WWE?
it blows my mind. He'd have the title.
The greatest non-champion ever. He has to be.
Yeah, no, he truly has to be. Like in this day and age, where guys like, and no offense to Triple H, but if Triple H
Triple H can take some offense.
Yeah, how many title reigns does he have? 14 or something like that. That means Piper would have shattered Ric Flair's record in today's world. You already put it into words, so I'm not going to go into it. But boy, like he should legit be put in the conversation of top 10. Absolutely. But as I said prior, this match was a beautiful disaster. A lot going on. A lot of celebrities. Muhammad Ali's in there. Not only is Muhammad Ali in there, but there's still another guest referee in Pat Patterson in there. You have managers in each corner, Jimmy Snuka and Bob Orton. The finish involved Bob Orton hitting Orndorff with his cast, which Orndorff did a great job selling after the count, after the pinfall. But really, it's just, if you go watch it, if anybody goes back and watch it, it's a car wreck. I mean, bodies are flying everywhere. Clearly, there are times where Mr. T kind of misses a spot and Muhammad Ali misses a spot, and their timing isn't very good. But ultimately, you have Hogan on one corner and you have Piper in the other, and that's all the match needed. In Orndorff, I think he was just there to get the rub more than anything. BC clearly had the look. He had Winstraw just legitimately coming out of his eyeballs, just steroids everywhere. But he had the look. So he's there for the rub. Mr. T's there for appeal. Ali's there for appeal. But in my opinion, it was all Hogan and Piper. That was, as a wrestling fan, that's why I watched that match.
Let me drop some knowledge on you, some Wikipedia learned knowledge. A lot of people might not know this. I didn't. The famous Piper hitting Snuka over the head with the coconut, that led up to this match. That was in the lead up to this match, which I didn't know. And that's why Snuka was there. I guess Cowboy Bob was actually, I believe, Piper's bodyguard, and because Snuka was going wild looking for him or something like that. And let me give you this one too. This is straight from Wikipedia. So, quote, as part of the promotion for the event, Hogan appeared on Hot Properties TV show, I guess, 4 days prior to WrestleMania, where he put the host, Richard Belzer, in a front chin lock, a move that cuts off the flow of blood to the brain. Belzer, however, fell to the floor unconscious and began to bleed profusely. His injury required 8 stitches. Belzer later sued Hogan for $5 million, but they eventually settled out of court. The most boring move in wrestling. Almost killed this guy and cost Hogan millions. Let me ask you this: could you have WrestleMania 1 be a great success if it was just Hogan and Piper?
Yeah. See, I'm not putting myself in that time period, I guess. Because in my opinion,
I think you need Mr. T. Orndorff can be anyone at that point. Cowboy Bob can be anyone, Snook can be anyone, but you need Mr. T.
Yeah. I'm looking at the card now. Like, I can't even look at a place where Mr. T can fit into.
Mr. T is one of the, when you're in the mid '80s, he's one of the most marketable stars, TV stars and Hollywood stars of the mid '80s. Probably you put him with Hogan, you put that, you bill that, you need that on the marquee. So I would say it's not the kind of success that it was. I don't think that's what made it the success, but I don't think we wouldn't be here today if not for Mr. T. But I think you needed Mr. T for it to be as successful as it was.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only other place that I would put him, and maybe Vince was doing Bruno a solid by having his son on the card, but if somehow you can pull off a Brutus Beefcake versus Mr. T with Bruno in his corner type match, that's just looking at the card, like keeping him as a face. Because if you had him as a
wild,
yeah, if you had him,
fantasy booking.
If you had him as a heel, you could do Andre versus Mr. T in the body slam. But if you keep him as a face, I think that's the only place you have him. But I think the impact of having him with Hogan, that's the appeal. That's what's going to get people to watch more than anything.
He could have just been he could have been another guest official or another guest ring announcer in the main event or something. They already had 3 of them. Might as well stretch to the 4. Is the only. Oh, go ahead.
I said I think they got 3 WrestleManias out of Mr. T though. So I mean, you're probably right.
This is the only WrestleMania without a World Championship match. The world title's not defended at WrestleMania. I did not catch that one on Wikipedia. That was some Karaji original sleuthing.
Hey.
And it was the only one without a world title match. Incredible to think of when you really factor it in. I don't even know who the champion was there. I assume it was Hogan. After maybe beating Sheik or something. Oh yeah, it was Hogan. That's been incredible. And I guess, yeah, the question kind of, after watching all of WrestleMania 1, and we've watched, we've been alive for how many, since, 30 or whatever, 30 plus, and we've been watching a ton. Would we be where we are today as a company? Would the WWE have succeeded as a company? And would we be where we are today if not for WrestleMania 1 being the success that it was?
No, right? No chance. I
And
think
I want to preface this to everyone by saying we have no clue what the real answer is. This is our
that's very true.
35-year later with zero reference of how things were in the mid 80s.
So let's just take the next 2 years for an example then, as a sample size. So the next year, Vince probably took the success of WrestleMania 1 and bit too much, or bit out more than he can chew by having that 3 location simulcast in WrestleMania 2. Now we're going to watch WrestleMania 2, and I'm just making assumptions here.
Not looking forward to WrestleMania 2. I've seen some
it's
WrestleMania
probably
2.
A clusterfuck. It's probably a clusterfuck in my opinion. Like, the tech couldn't have been that good to do something like that.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it for the people.
Yeah, and so
or the person.
But he clearly had some sort of confidence because of the success that they had the 12 months prior from WrestleMania 1 going into 2. And then he maybe turned it around and said, okay, let's just take that success and put it on one building. And that's where 3 happened. But it all still stems through the roots of WrestleMania 1.
Yeah, I think if you don't have WrestleMania 1, you don't have 3. I think 3 is at least what we look back on and really see as maybe the modern turning point to modern wrestling, where Hogan and Andre, when you just talk about WrestleMania moments, probably the first real genuine WrestleMania moment, maybe, or at least maybe the premier one. And then you look at Savage, Steamboat. WrestleMania 3 is important for a lot of reasons to modern wrestling. I don't think you get there without the success of WrestleMania 1. And if you listen to the books and if you read the books, if you watch the True Story of WrestleMania, which you can catch on the WWE Network, Vince would tell you, and people around there would tell you, if it didn't work, they were going out of business. Maybe they put a lot into this thing. So you have every reason to believe that if this show isn't a success, then they wouldn't be